Spaniens Himmel breitet seine Sterne über unsere Schützengraben aus. Und der Morgen grüßt schon auf der Ferne, bald geht es zum neuen Kampf hinaus. Die Heimat ist weit, doch wir sind bereit. Wir kämpfen und siegen für dich, Freiheit. Spanish heavens spread their brilliant starlight high above our trenches in the plain. From the distance morning comes to greet us, calling us to battle once again. Far off is our land, yet ready we stand. We're fighting and winning for you, Freiheit. We'll not yield a foot to Franco's fascists, even though the bullets fall like sleet. With us stand those peerless men, our comrades, and for us there can be no retreat. Far off is our land, yet ready we stand. We're fighting and winning for you, Freiheit. Beat the drums, ready the bayonets, charge! Forward march, victory our reward. With our scarlet banner smash their column. Tillman Battalion, ready, forward march! Far off is our land, yet ready we stand. We're fighting and winning for you, Freiheit. Die Heimat ist weit, doch wir sind bereit. Wir kämpfen und siegen für dich, Freiheit.
It's the first day of spring. I feel delicious. That feeling you get when you've just taken a bath and washed your hair and every stitch of clothes you are wearing is freshly laundered, and you're wearing a crisp starched blouse and the sun shining down on you. It's hard to work. It's hard to think. The week behind you seems unreal, and you aren't really prepared for the clamor of the week ahead. A hazy, lazy, lovely feeling. I want to walk in slow swishes through tall grass and then stand on top of a great hill and laugh my head off. And then I want to turn around and find you there, laughing too. And then we'd talk of vague things, like how small the people look, and do you think they can see us too? And what do you suppose it would be like to work on a farm? Then you take off your lumber jacket, and I sit down on it, and you'd stretch out and put your head on my lap, and we'd look up at the sky and say some more vague things. Then one of my legs would get cramped, but I wouldn't say anything, only shift around, and you'd say, "Are you comfortable?" And I'd say, "Sure, are you?" And then I'd straighten out your eyebrows or something.
Officers' training school is a pretty tough business. From the time we get up at 5:15 a.m. to bedtime at 9:30, there's not a moment to spare. It's just as tough a grind, in fact, tougher than I ever faced when I was going to Cooper Union. Half the day's lectures in theory. The other half is divided between field work, firing, mapping, stripping, cleaning machine guns and rifles, shining my shoes, parade, mess, political education and work, which is so important in this army. I mentioned shining my shoes. Don't laugh. That's very important. It's been entirely underestimated.
So left, 2, 3, so left, 2, 3, to the work that we must do. March on in the workers' united front, for you are a worker too. Y como ser humano. El hombre lo que quiere es su pan. Los habladurías le bastan ya, porque estas nada le dan. Pues 1, 2, 3, pues 1, 2, 3, compañero en tu lugar. Porque eres del pueblo, afíliate ya en el Frente Popular.
The Army is taking on the form and shape of a real army. Discipline is today the central factor in our Army. That means discipline in work, obeying commands, and in personal appearance. So we future officers have to be model soldiers in every respect. It's not so easy to change lifelong habits, but it's got to be done. We're learning real stuff here. Maybe we'll become ROTC instructors when we get home. I understand that the U.S. Army is proud of the Americans fighting in Spain.
Es hat uns das Leben gerufen, das Leben von sonnige Tag, hat jeder in Land so munter gespannt und besonder gegangen in Weg. Zu 1, 2, 3, zu 1, 2, 3, auf Arbeit in Weg sich gelost. Jeder Trott hat sein Klang, jeder Weg sein Gesang, wenn du weißt, wo du gehst und fahr los. Marchons au pas, camarade, vers notre front. Range-toi dans le front de tous les ouvriers, avec tous tes frères étrangers.
Now even the miraculous weather can't keep my mind from planning the meetings for the coming week. And what a week it's going to be. City 23rd, City Main, NYU, Brooklyn College, all will have a 1-hour stoppage at 11 a.m. Hunter and Columbia will have noon-hour demonstrations. All the evening schools will have torchlight parades to celebrate their stoppages. These demonstrations are being led by the American Student Union with endorsements by most of the student councils, and the school newspapers promise special editions. The stoppages and demonstrations align around 4 main points. 1. The U.S. to participate in a world conference of peace-loving nations. 2. Lift the embargo on loyalist Spain. 3. Hitler out of Austria. Withdraw German troops. Halt murderous attacks on Catholics and Jews. 4. Boycott Japanese goods. Someone has arranged for an airplane to fly over these stoppages with a 60-foot streamer. Stop Hitler and save peace.
Und weil der Prolet ein Prolet ist, wird ihn kein anderer befreien. Es kann die Befreiung der Arbeiter nur das Werk der Arbeiter sein. Drum links 2, 3, drum links 2, 3, wo dein Platz, Genosse, ist. Reich dich ein in die Arbeitereinheitsfront, weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist. And just because he's human, a man would like a little bite to eat. He won't get full on a lot of talk that won't give him bread and meat. So left 2, 3, so left 2, 3, to the work that we must do. March on in the Workers' United Front, for you are a worker too.
Ruth, if you promise you won't tell a soul, I'll tell you something that otherwise you won't know. I just found out that I was cited for bravery for dressing a wounded comrade under fire. Now, I don't think I deserve it, because there are so many things done under fire that are just as brave and braver. Many of them go unnoticed, and it makes you feel kind of silly when so many guys you know have done better than you. So don't spread this part of my letter around to anybody, please. Remember how I used to bawl you out for smoking stubs? Well, the tables are turned. Now we have a system of butts. If you see a guy with a cigarette, you yell, "Butts!" If someone else sees it first, you yell, "Butts on butts!" Butch tried this one out at our party last Saturday night. He drops half a cigarette, an overgrown butt, while someone is singing, and the whole mob rushes to get it. Butch is faster and has it in his mouth again with a scramble of guys on the floor. So, you can go on smoking if you send us the butts.
I went to a huge meeting for Tom Mooney. His case is coming before the Supreme Court. It was a swell meeting. I'm sending you the Times clippings, which don't half do it justice. Maverick is a regular arm-waving orator, all right. LaGuardia brought down the house. It was a very sincerely friendly and warm meeting. Everyone roared at the stalest jokes. Everyone applauded every other sentence of every speaker. The opening remarks of the speakers were interesting. They varied from "Mr. Chairman," "Ladies and gentlemen," to "fellow citizens," to "fellow workers." When Haywood Broun spoke, he drawled, "Everybody, we need Tom. He's not only a symbol, he is a power in his own right. Why, once, when I had given a half promise to go to California and speak at a Mooney meeting and then didn't show up, Mooney called me up on the phone from San Quentin, and boys, he bawled the daylights out of me. He sure took my pants down. And if he can be like that over the telephone, can you imagine what he'd be like leading the picket line at the Brooklyn Daily Eagle? We newspaper men need Tom right now. Everyone feels very confident that Mooney will soon be free.
Mr. Tom Mooney is free. Mr. Tom Mooney is free. Done got a pardon from that old jailhouse warden, Governor Culbert Olson's decree. Oh, how does it feel to be free? Tell me, how does it feel to be free? How does it feel just to be out of jail since the people has won your liberty? Way up in old Frisco town, way up in old Frisco town, Mr. Mooney and Billings, framed up on a killing, got railroaded penitentiary bound. 22 years did go by. 22 years did go by. You spent that 22 for a crime you didn't do. Then we opened up the cage so you can fly. It was Culbert Olson's decree. It was Culbert L. Olson's decree. When he took that governor's chair, he said, "I declare I got to set the state of California free." So it's open up your cold jailhouse door. Open up your cold jailhouse door. Cold, clammy walls of the San Quentin halls couldn't hold Tom Mooney's people anymore.
We got all your packages yesterday and the day before. Johnny, Joe Taylor, Pete Kelly, myself. I got the tobacco, coffee, salmon, Hershey's Kisses, chewing gum, and the blue leather jacket. It's just like the woman in you to think of a color to match my eyes. We usually think of colors to match the ground. But everyone likes the jacket and is probably thinking of 101 different ways of organizing it from me. At any rate, I can expect a lot of guys to follow me around in the next action. This is always the standard joke in these parts. The thing that amazes the boys around here most is this whole string of guys who get packages from one Ruth Watt. This strange phenomenon gives rise to all sorts of speculative wisecracks. Your packages are appreciated so much that Milt has started to call you our wife. Most of the stuff we receive from home is immediately divided among the fellas, but still, it makes the man who receives a package directly feel good. So I'm conveying all their thanks to you, my dear.
When I got to the office, I found the package you sent me from Valencia. Oh, how well you know the things I'd love. That textbook, those fairy tales. Really, I'm speechless, and I love you till I ache. I feel a little at a loss about where and how to write to you. I feel sort of foolish knowing that by the time letters get to you, the letters I've written to you in training camp are received in reserve position. When written to reserve position, you get them in the hospital. When written to the hospital, you are in Valencia, to Valencia, and you are in training camp. Honest, it makes me dizzy, and I know you're changing and growing daily. How can my letters meet those changes in you? We'll have to get to know each other all over again. It'll be loads of fun. But I confess I'm a little scared. You don't suppose you'll stop loving me or something, do you?
Darling, I believe everything now. Hairbreadth Harry, Nick Carter, Baron Munchausen. There isn't one of them has had the hairbreadth escape some of us have had in the last couple of days. A group of us were surrounded by fascists. We were behind fascist lines for 3 days, fighting our way through, machine-gunned, shelled by artillery, bombed from the air, caught by fascist patrols, attacked twice by cavalry which we repulsed, and the climax, swimming across the river Ebro. Lucky I can swim. There were 3 of us together, naked and wet except for our hats in which we kept our military books and wallets. We walked for a couple of hours over the rocks, little rocks, the kind that cut your feet, and through shrubs till we hit the road and ran into the brigade, where Herbie Matthews and Ernie Hemingway met us and got that story. For the next 4 or 5 days, the boys kept coming in. Each time another comrade arrived, there was rejoicing. So, you came through, you bastard. No fascist son of a bitch could ever get me. Now, our battalion is almost full strength again. The morale, highest I've ever seen in Spain. This is May 21st, and excellent fighting weather. Cold wind and hot sun. By the time you get this, the newspapers will probably be reporting great victories for loyalist Spain. Almost 2 years of war, and still the spirit is the same, even higher. All of Spain is singing songs of struggle and victory. Just listen to us.
El 18 día de julio, en el patio de un convento, en pueblo madrileño, fundó el 5º regimiento. Venga, jaleo, jaleo, sueño de una ametralladora y Franco se va a paseo y Franco se va a paseo. On the 18th of July, in a lovely Spanish patio, Madrid's anti-fascist heroes formed the 5º regimiento. Join in the struggle, the struggle. I dream of a girl and her machine gun. It will be the end of Franco. It will be the end of Franco. In the 4 heroic battalions, Madrid so bravely defending, fighting in Spain's fiercest battles, are the bravest of every village. Venga, jaleo, jaleo, sueño de una ametralladora y Franco se va a paseo y Franco se va a paseo. With the 5º, 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 with the 5º regimiento, for the front, Madre, I'm leaving, for I too would kill the fascists. Venga, jaleo, jaleo, sueña de una ametralladora y Franco se va a paseo, y Franco se va a paseo.
Well, kid, I'm in top form except for a sprained ankle and some small bits of shrapnel in my hand. I've just been entrusted with the greatest responsibility I've ever held. I'm now the political commissar of the Lincoln Battalion. I wanted to give Johnny something to take back to you, but honestly, there wasn't a thing on me. When I swam the river, every stitch of clothes and possessions, except my military book and wallet, which had no money, and my beret where I carried these things, were gone with the current. So I gave Johnny an International Brigade emblem for you. They're rare and very valuable to us. I'd lost mine, but Captain Wolfe gave me one. I also sent along one of our indispensable rope lighters, very useful at the front. I'm sure you'll be the center of attention when you pull the long rope out of your purse and begin to work the wheel. The first 6 weeks you have it, it should take you no more than 15 minutes to light each time. Let me know how it works.
Johnny came home and gave me your gifts. Wee-woo-hoo. You said that for the first 6 weeks it would take me 15 minutes to light that trench lighter. Darling, you flatter me. In the 3 solid hours, I lit the darn thing 3 times and covered the palm of my hands with blisters. To my eternal credit, though, I think it should be stated that the last time I did it in 21.5 minutes flat. Johnny gave it to me just before the evening session of the state convention. I didn't realize it, but it made a disruptor out of me. There I sat, quietly engrossed in lighting my cigarette from the lighter. Suddenly, someone 2 tables away threw me a pack of matches. Then someone from the balcony threw a whole box of them. Then in front of me, behind me, to the sides of me, delegates offered me a light. Finally, a vet came over and lit that rope in 1 stroke. Gee whiz.
I knew you'd like the rope lighter. It's much better than matches. Hell, matches light on the first strike usually. Rope lighters require a little skill and patience. They can be very nicely tied about the neck or waist if the rope is long enough.
About the rope lighter, do you know, I'm beginning to agree with you that as a practical lighter, it is a very superior article. I have finally learned how to light it with 1 stroke. This is how I do it. Daintily, I coil it about my waist. Coyly, I then slip it around my throat. Slippily, I then slide it through my bracelet. I pick up the end with my left hand and placing it precisely between my thumb and forefinger, I hold it up to the window. I gauge the distance with the utmost care, and finally and flourishingly with my right hand, I strike a match. Bingo! It's lit in 1 stroke. Remember that letter you wrote to New Utrecht thanking them for the green scarf? Well, it created a sensation. Hi Greenspan read it in his class. You could have heard a pin drop. It spread like wildfire. Can you imagine? The word got around. 3 graduates of New Utrecht in the leadership of the Lincoln Battalion. Boy, oh boy. And did you hear that George Watt said he learned to swim in Utrecht, and that's how come he could swim the Ebro? It's scheduled to be read in every English and history class in the school. I couldn't help getting excited at the picture of Milt and Hemingway, and half of you. Hemingway was always one of my favorite authors. Many years ago, I read The Sun Also Rises and almost all his other books. It took me quite some time to untwist myself from the ravel he left me in. I've been afraid to reread any of his books. afraid if I had to judge them by present critical standards, I'd have to relegate them to the limbo of many former treasures. But just a few weeks ago, I read his latest book, To Have and Have Not. I was tremendously relieved. It was a fine book.
Bill Wheeler is back in Spain. The first thing he says when he gets up to speak is, "It's great to be in Spain again." People back home should appreciate the seriousness of the situation. There can be no going home for anyone here until victory of Spain is guaranteed. So tell everyone to stop writing letters to the boys here to come home, as if we had some prison sentence and our time was up. Right now we can't think of home. We've got enough to think about the homes in Spain. They are being destroyed by the fascists. The homes in the States are still pretty safe from bombardments.
There's something I've wanted to talk to you about for a long time. I've had many conversations up at the League office with the mothers, fathers, wives, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunts, cousins, sweethearts of fellows in Spain. I shuddered when one of them told me they had written telling the boys they should return. I tried to explain very patiently why it was no use, why it's wrong and bad and that the fellows don't like getting those letters. I think it did some good, but I'm troubled by it. I can certainly sympathize with the feelings of most of these people, but if they say those things in letters, which I hope they don't, they should be told bluntly that sort of thing is worse than Franco propaganda.
Wohin auch das Auge blicket, Moor und Heide nur ringsum, Vogelsang uns nicht erquicket, Eichen stehen kahl und krumm. Wir sind die Moorsoldaten und ziehen mit dem Spaten ins Moor. Wir sind die Moorsoldaten und ziehen mit dem Spaten ins Moor. Far and wide as the eye can wander, heath and bog are everywhere. Not a bird sings out to cheer us, oaks are standing gaunt and bare. We are the peat bog soldiers, we're marching with our spades to the bog. We are the peat bog soldiers, we're marching with our spades to the bog. Up and down the guards are pacing, no one can go through. Flight would mean our sure death facing, guns and barbed wire greet our view. We are the peat bog soldiers, marching with our spades to the bog. We are the peat bog soldiers, we're marching with our spades to the bog. But for us there is no complaining, winter will in time be past. One day we shall cry rejoicing, homeland dear, you're mine at last. Then will the peat bog soldiers march no more with their spades to the bog. Dann ziehen die Moorsoldaten nicht mehr mit den Spaten ins Moor.
I just got your package and 2 cablegrams. The cables were a shock and a thrill. I was very pleased to get them. Somehow the thought of you and me in Paris is something I could only dream about in my most dreamy mood. Yet, I am about to cable you the following. Take it easy, comrade. Political commissars are the last to leave. In addition to that, our battalion's still in the lines. As long as we're here, I cannot see my way through to foreign leaves or repatriation. We still have a job to perform. When that job is over, and I'm sure the time is very short, we will be able to leave. Not only for a leave, but for home. I'll let you know when the time comes. Talk of the future of the International Brigade is quite widespread. There's lots of speculation and rumors. You can see how much courage it takes for the men who know all this and whose minds have already begun to turn across the ocean to stay and fight. Yet everyone is working and prepared to fight just as before.
Darling, this is what I do on weekends when I get sort of fed up. Saturday night, instead of going out somewhere, I come home and read the Colliers and wash my hair, turn on the radio, curl up in my bathrobe, my wine-dotted one, remember? And soon fall asleep. Around midnight, I wake up. My toes feel cold. Crawl under the blanket, explain all my troubles to you, and then fall asleep. Sunday, the radio I forgot to turn off wakes me. Get up early, clean the house, wash clothes, gossip with Adeline, read the paper, iron clothes. Most of the day is gone. Make supper, and then, the most important thing of all. Other factors of such a weekend may vary. This one never does. I get out all your letters, and gradually, as I go from beginning to end, I begin to thaw, and my heart starts singing, and my head clears up.
There's no need telling you about the momentous decision made by Negrin and the Spanish government. That they are able to dispense with our services is only further proof of our inevitable victory, of the strength of our army. Our battalion was in the front lines until the very last moment. You can't know how proud the fellows here are to be the last Americans to leave the front in Spain. The last 2 months were the hardest 2 months of fighting this war has seen to date. I'll tell you all about it when I get home.
To you, beloved comrade, we make this solemn vow. The fight will go on. The fight will still go on. Like you, beloved comrade, we pledge our bodies now. The fight will go on. The fight will still go on. Rest here in the earth. Your work is done. You'll find new birth when we have won. When we have won. Sleep well, beloved comrade. Our work will just begin. The fight will go on till we win. Until we win.
It was good to hear from you. At the end of the letter you wrote, "Saludi Victoria e Ruthia, you darling." Jim read it and said, "Who is this Dame Victoria?" When I was a little girl, I used to be frightened by the sorrowful faces of the nuns I passed on the street. But hey, now I can appreciate at least one reason for it. Say you, hurry up home. Abstention has grown wearier.
This should be me instead of this letter. But just as the rest of the boys were going home, I got the grip and was sent to the hospital. And you know how doctors and hospitals are. I'm perfectly well now. I walk around the hospital in town and feel all my strength coming back. But they say I am still not strong enough to make the mad dash through France and withstand the rigorous winter ocean voyage. So, wait another week, which is what I have to do. You have no idea how the minutes and hours weigh upon me. I've been away from home and you for a year and a half now. There aren't many veterans who've been away that long. But if I can't make it home for Christmas and New Year's, which it's certain I can't, I'll surely make it home in time for our second wedding anniversary, and that's something then we'll celebrate. I love you so much, so hurry up and wait for me.
I saw the film Blockade yesterday. I don't know if you've heard of it yet. It's really a remarkable thing to come out of Hollywood. It's supposed to be a nonpartisan indictment of the bombardment of civilians, of the destruction of peaceful homes. In the course of telling the story of a peasant boy, the film shows why people continue to resist, what the land and liberty mean to them. There's a powerful humanitarian appeal in the picture of how innocent inhabitants of a town suffer under an unfair blockade but continue to resist. Some of the implications for the world as a whole are brought out by a sympathetic foreign newspaper man. But the part that hit home most, as it was meant to do, was the closing lines. In somewhat the approved Hollywood fashion, the hero saves the food ship and exposes the traitors. The military commandant thanks him and promises him and the girl a leave as soon as possible, saying, "Maybe you can find a little peace and happiness." "Peace?" answers the boy. "How can there be peace for anyone while our land and people are being destroyed by murderers?" And then he turns directly to the audience. Close the curtain. "The world can stop it," he says through clenched teeth. "Where is the conscience of the world?"
There's a valley in Spain called Jarama. It's a place that we all know so well. It was there that we gave of our manhood, where so many of our brave comrades fell. We are proud of the Lincoln Battalion and the fight for Madrid that it made. There we fought like true sons of the people as part of the 15th Brigade. Now we're far from that valley of sorrow, but its memory we ne'er will forget. So before we conclude this reunion, let us honor our glorious dead. There's a valley in Spain called Jarama. It's a place that we all know so well. It was there that we gave of our manhood, where so many of our brave comrades fare.